Opened up our income fund to outside investors in 2020, we were just really amazed, Sean and I were just really amazed at the amount of interest that other people had in this field of monthly passive income that comes back to you in a consistent and predictable manner. And so this presentation is really about my journey over the last 3 or so years in working with investors, because before 2020, we were self-funded. Sean and I, all the deals we did, we put our own money out only, and we didn't take any investor money. Or when I was buying real estate deals early on, it's just my own money or leverage from the bank. It's really been enlightening. I've learned so much, met so many incredible people. Bob and Colleen, as an example, you guys have been so supportive of the group. Jeff Kratz over here, another investor, just been so supportive of the group and all the other activity we have going on, which is massive amounts. So I can't keep up with Jeff. But yeah, tonight's presentation is really about one simple philosophy that changed my life that I believe can possibly change yours. And that is to live off the fruit off your fruit tree and not the fruit tree itself. Obviously fruit tree is a metaphor, and it really represents something, something of value that you hold dear, that you give up if you live off your fruit tree. So it could be that you're working, massive amounts of hours, putting out a lot of effort. You're selling your stocks to live off the money. You're taking second jobs. Anything that's kind of wearing you down and removing value out of your life so that you can live and pay the bills and generate the income you need to live, versus having that money, having those investments produce fruit that is effortless. And so that's really the philosophy that kind of changed my life when I started looking at, hey, what assets can I acquire that produce monthly passive income in a consistent and predictable manner that I really don't have to expend much energy for. And that's really where I found the next level of things, of happiness in my life. Zach, are you having trouble, buddy? Yeah. Okay, Miss Katie will get that for you. So now, now on the flip side, the more you grow your fruit tree in a healthy manner, the more that it's going to produce fruit for you. And by fruit, in the sense of what we're talking about tonight, I mean monthly passive income. I think a lot of you kind of get that point there. We want to focus our attention on learning about and investing in assets that produce monthly passive income that's both predictable and consistent. And this is the basis of how we invest here, and it's really changed the lives for our company as well as all our investors. But more on that later in the presentation. So we're going to explore the example of a fictitious character named Fred. So this gentleman, he was young, he got good grades in school, he was active in athletics, he went to a good college, and he took out student loan debt to kind of get there and get through it. Comes out, gets a good job, finds the right spouse, buys a house, has children, and is pretty set up, pretty established, living the American dream, if you will. And on top of that, he's contributing to his 401k. He's getting raises along the way. But what Fred realizes at a certain point in his life is that the amount of raises and the advancement he's making at work, or the amount his 401k grows, the levels his 401k grows to, are not keeping pace with inflation and the burdens of life. And it's not advancing him enough financially. And so he starts to get concerned. Now, up to this point, he's done everything right. He's done everything according to how everyone's laid out what the game plan is for success. but he feels inside he's missing something. He's missing the boat. And I thought of a quote from Sir Isaac Newton where he says, for every action there's an equal and opposite reaction. And so Fred kind of feels the more that he's grinding, the more that he's moving forward in life, or as David's boulder analogy, the more he's pushing boulder up the hill, the more that boulder is pushing back, rolling back on him with greater force. And so he starts checking into investment books. He starts researching on Google. He starts listening to podcasts on YouTube, searching for answers how to change his situation or improve his situation, or even in some cases giving him clarity. Fred reads a book from an investment author, and he learns about a topic that he's never learned about, and that is monthly passive income. And so what he does is he learns for the first time that he can acquire an asset that does not take ongoing effort and maintenance to produce monthly income, which is the fruit off the fruit tree. And so through his learning, he says, he makes a consideration. He goes, I know that I need additional income. He understands that already. And he understands he's not going to get it from the main primary source of income, which is his job. So he learns, he can take additional streams of income. He can work additional jobs. He can do a side hustle, get a side business, or he can invest into assets that produce passive income. And so as he's researching these opportunities, what he's learning is that of himself is that he doesn't have the time. He doesn't have the bandwidth. He has a family. He has a house. He's got all the I don't want to say burdens, the labor of love, if you will, and that holds him down, and he doesn't have that extra energy to expend into doing all these additional levels of effort to obtain additional levels of income. So he realizes that income has to come by passive means, and then he further learns that in order to make sure that the monthly income that he's earning on a passive level comes back to him and his family in a consistent and predictable manner, he has to consider 3 risk factors. And those risk factors are the operator risk, who's running the show, who's acquiring the assets, who's managing the performance of the assets, the assets themselves. So, are these assets good assets? Are they managed well? Are they cash flowing how they need to? And then lastly, the rate of return risk. So is it providing back the rate of return that is meeting Fred's aspirations for him to be able to advance with his family forward financially? So more on that later with Fred. Now this tree here is I see every day on the ride home. Zach, you can confirm, right? This is a what? What is this?
Mango tree.
It's a mango tree. So we have a mango tree, and people go nuts for the mango tree. Almost every day when the mango's fully producing, people are always stopping and they're taking the mangoes. Deer are walking by, they're eating the mangoes. And I wonder sometimes, does the owner ever think to himself or herself that everyone's feeding off these mangoes from his tree or her tree, but him or her? And so in Fred's case, Fred in this situation may think or feel that the effort that he's expending, that he's putting out, the daily grind that he's involved in on a daily basis, is producing, units, producing money, producing returns, but everyone else is dependent upon those returns, and there may be nothing left for Fred at the end of the day after everyone's kind of feeding off of what Fred's producing. And if you can relate to this in any way or at any point in your life, then I think this may resonate with you, what we're going to talk about tonight. So I mentioned managing an income fund, and for the past 10 years, my partner and I, we've been buying mortgages, performing mortgages all throughout the United States in pools. And in addition to the mortgages, various real estate assets, various energy assets, all with the philosophy that these assets, we have some form of control over the production, and that these assets produce monthly passive income. So they meet both of those criteria. The third criteria is that these assets are in areas that we understand. So if you own a home, if you have a mortgage or have paid a mortgage at some point, if you put gas in your car once a week, then you pretty much understand the assets we buy. And so we kind of like to stick in that category. And so as we consider the quality of our operation and the cash flowing assets themselves, we consider that our fruit tree, and then we consider the monthly passive income that we receive from those assets, the fruit on our fruit tree in this occasion. And what's interesting and what is a blessing actually is that since 2020, when we started taking on investor capital, because before, as I mentioned, we hadn't done that up to that point, we now have over 100 investors. So our fruit tree is wider, produces more fruit, and there's a community of investors that feed off of the fruit on a monthly basis, and that's growing. And this is our team here. We have a 20-person team. And I consider them, they probably don't, but I consider them tree farmers. So like growing in the tree growing business. I don't know, James, you would agree with that. Now back to our friend Fred and what he learns. So with any potential passive income opportunity, you want to consider the operator, you want to consider the assets. And just to let you know a little bit about Sean and myself, I come from an entrepreneurial background, 20 years as a business owner. My wife and I founded a government contracting company. We later sold in the DC area in 2013. We've been buying real estate since 2009 and mortgages since 2013. I have an MBA. I also have another master's in project management. But that really didn't do nearly as much as just being in the business world day to day. I've written a few books on mortgage note investing, on cash flow investing. I'm extremely passionate about this subject. It has been transformative in my life, and my hope is that we can do what we're doing to spread this monthly passive income to the world, which is really the heart of our mission. Now, Sean comes from the finance technology background in corporate America, Fortune 100 company, CenturyLink, right? L3, was it L3 as well?
Level 3, Time Warner.
Building data centers, traveling the country, getting paid a lot of money, but not happy, right? You were in the corporate, well, you were happy, but...
No, I was not happy.
Not happy.
But they did pay well.
Paid well, executive MBA, did all the right things. And so when we came together in 2017, we came together to scale the operation, professionalize the operation, if you will, and grow a team, which we've done today. And that's really our background. I raised my 4 children with my wife in Sarasota. Sean raises his 2 children with his wife in Sarasota, and that's kind of we're family men first and foremost. Bequest being the name, and Zach, what does Bequest stand for? legacy, right? So being able to have something to pass down, and that's what there's no expiration with Bequest, the fund, so we have it set up where it's just perpetual, goes on and on. So we want to pass it down to our children is what our goal is. So we have Fred. In Fred's case, Fred does do his financial statement, and he gets a little excited because he realizes that his living expenses are $10,000 per month, and he's earning about $14,000 per month. So there's a little breathing room he has, and he overlooks the fact that he's at $0 in monthly passive income, but he doesn't feel the pressure because, for one, he's healthy, he has job security. So he says, well, I have another 15 years to really build this up, put the money in the 401k, the house equity grows, all these wonderful things happen, and then he'll be okay at the end of the day. But what Fred is overlooking is that he's only looking in present terms of where things are at today. He's not looking in 15 years. God willing, 15 years occurs and nothing happens before then. But in 15 years, he may very well still be at $0 in monthly passive income. He may have more in his 401k, his house value may be more, and some other things. But he has a standard of living at $10,000. His standard of living would be malo, right? At $0. That's bad. And so he really needs to figure out how to go from $0 to $10,000 over a 15-year time span. And therein lies the roadmap by which Fred wants to consider. And so the other way to look at it is he has 15 years to produce a healthy fruit tree that will produce $10,000 a month in fruit in a consistent and predictable manner that will outlive Fred and his wife. That's kind of another way to kind of think about it. This is contrary to what most of us kind of taught. You go up and we always kind of chuckle because we're in a building full of Wall Street folks, and we're the only non-Wall Street company in the building. And so, we look at like all the stocks and bonds and all the, Wall Street products. And we understand that there may be a need for that. It's not the path we go. But that path doesn't lead to consistent and predictable monthly income that you can count on. With an operator that you can actually get to know and go shake their hand, look them in the eye, where Sean and I are 2/3 owner over the whole portfolio, and so the investor's money is actually the smallest portion of our operation. So we have as much skin in the game as you can imagine. And so by doing the math, Fred looks at what options Fred has. So Fred can go and put more money into Wall Street products. But the challenge there is that there's a lot of stress and anxiety with that, because you put money in and there's no assurance what it's going to end up at the end of the 15 years. Is it a good market? Is there a war? Is there 2 wars, 3? What? I mean, is there, geopolitical what? Is, or is there monetary debasement? I mean, Cedric could talk all night about that. And, Federal Reserve printing, 24/7. I mean, so we don't know, but the other challenge is that Fred wouldn't know who to go to, because all of, like everybody in this building, they all have pretty packages and they'll sell you on financial products, but a lot of them don't have their own money in what it is they're telling you to invest in. And that's the challenge, is where people are working off of fees, not working off of results. Now, Fred could start a business, but we already kind of learned that he's out of bandwidth in terms of time and energy. Fred could take on a second job. He could start landlording, buying some properties. that's all great, and I'm not knocking any of that. I mean, those are all advancements, but those don't address the topic of what we're talking about as what is true monthly passive income. I knew I double-clicked it. All right, so growing your own fruit tree. This, what is an income fund? Well, an income fund provides a return off of the investments that the fund makes. And in our case, a vast majority of our funds are invested into pools of performing residential owner-occupied mortgages all throughout the United States in suburban parts of the country. Now, the cool thing about performing mortgages that I learned about 10 years ago when I learned the industry is that you buy a good mortgage. Zach, slow it down, son. You buy a good mortgage backed by a good property with a good set of homeowners that have emotional equity, plus they have financial equity in the property, and you will have a cash flowing asset that requires little maintenance for many, many years. So I have mortgages that I got performing 10 years ago that are still paying like clockwork, where you don't even have to put a thought into it. Now, we take that monthly income from the homeowners and we turn and pay our investors each and every month. So it's just like the Willy Wonka Oompa Loompa. So you just go the movement. It's that in an area where I think most of us can understand. Owning your own home, there's emotional equity. Your kids are growing up in the neighborhood. Kids are going to school there. You're friends with your neighbors, hopefully, and all of that. Now, there are some funds that do pay, out annually or pay out semi-annually, or they'll pay more sporadically based on when they hit certain net proceed levels. But what we find important is that your bills are due monthly, so your income needs to come in monthly. Those two need to match, because that also leads to part of what helps enhance the predictability is that it offsets stress and anxiety. So if you are investing with this philosophy, stress and anxiety should not exist in investing. Like, there's no people all bugging out on their phones looking at the Dow Jones or stock market. Like, I can't tell you last time I looked at none of that matters. So you look at your bank account on certain days, and money's in there how it should be. Now, when we launched the fund, we wanted something to pass down to our children, which is why we made it an evergreen fund and called it Bequest funds. And as I mentioned, Bequest is a fancy word for no expiration date. And you can place one simple investment and you'll receive the monthly passive income for life while still preserving the fruit tree, because when you're ready to take out the money, it's there. It's there in full. Another way to look at it is 8 or 9% annual preferred return is the fruit that grows from your capital investment. And some folks take it out monthly, or some folks let it compound. Whichever the case, whenever you need it, you just flip the switch and the monthly income will come as a result. Now, I don't know if my favorite app on Apple is Compounder, and I just love doing the math. If we pick up on our friend Fred, who needs to earn some monthly passive income, recall he earns $14,000 per month. In active income, has $10,000 per month in living expenses and 15 years to work. We believe in this situation, Bequest is the best fit for Fred. With a $1.4 million investment into the income fund, Fred can live off of $10,500 coming to Fred monthly in a predictable manner. Well, what Fred says to this is, that's incredible, but I don't have $1.4 million. And that's understandable. Most people don't. And so the idea is just to start somewhere. So the minimum investment is $50,000. So if Fred puts in $50,000 from day one, and then $4,000 a month is added over the 15-year period, then Fred will end up with $1.5 million in the fund invested, and he'll receive $11,250 monthly for the rest of his life, and the rest of Fred's spouse's wife. And that's something that is that is just you can put, you can count on it. Either 20, 30-year mortgages. We buy them ongoing, and it's meant to be with no perpetual is the word I'm kind of thinking about. So what does Bequest do that assures Fred that each and every month the monthly payments are consistent and predictable? Well, there's risk factors to be considered with any opportunity, and we mentioned that there's an operator risk. Who the operator is so important. If you buy an Apple stock and you have a question for Apple, you're not going to call the CEO of Apple because they're not going to pick up the phone. But if you want to go invest with people that you can actually talk to face to face, owners of the company, people that have vested interest in the company, that have financial skin in the game, that's very important. And then what the asset is. Do you understand what the asset is? In our case, I'm saying mortgages and real estate, and oil and gas is an energy that we invest in. And so, and oil and gas isn't in the income fund, it's in our legacy fund, but still we invest in that. We understand the need for fossil fuels into the foreseeable future. And so the metrics that we look at for our fund are, we look at equity coverage in terms of investment to value. So we operate the fund off a 65% investment to value. What that means is equity coverage on our portfolio actually sits at 61%. So we have a 39% equity coverage on our entire portfolio for Bequest funds. So if someone stops paying and we need to take back the property, we'll have equity coverage to recoup our investment into that opportunity. It's very powerful and more conservative than banks that operate off of 80% loan to value. And it's because we buy these mortgages in at a discount from the secondary mortgage market. Now we also look at collectability. Who's paying on time? What percentage of the people are paying on time? Now, we vet these mortgages like a major lending institution would vet them. Title reports, credit report analysis, skip tracing, bankruptcy searches, all the things, borrower profiles. We look at appraisals. So we're doing we have all the systems in place, all the resources, all the expertise to vet these mortgages as we buy them in pools. And then the fund sits at 96.3% collectability. So people are paying on time. People are paying as they need to. We monitor that daily. And the belief is that investing shouldn't be mysterious and shouldn't be stressful. And unfortunately, I talk to investors daily. Sean Osborne talks to investors more so daily. And that's what you hear is just resounding, right? Stress and anxiety in terms of what people are up to. But it doesn't have to be if you have a good game plan. And that's kind of how we look at it. So this is a graph that represents the fund's health. The blue line represents income that comes into the fund monthly from borrower payments, and as well as other activities if there's a pay down or a payoff on the loan. And the orange line represents the distributions to our investors on a monthly basis. We opened the fund in April 2020. If you see here some spikes, these spikes are because we had payoffs and actually these dips here, because it's just kind of how we reported some of the income activities. But you see here, there's just significant coverage overall on a month-to-month basis, and that kind of speaks to the health of the fund, and that just kind of speaks to the safety. So this is what we see as kind of creating certainty around an opportunity. And what I want to say is that whether we're talking about Bequest or whether we're talking about whatever Fred does, I think those fundamental principles are just significant. That's the operator risk, the asset risk, which speaks to capital preservation, and then the rate of return risk, which we're not really going to touch on, and that's just making sure the rate of return on the opportunity matches what your expectations or your needs are, given your financial plan. But I hope that this, time together was educational, and the mission of our organization, Sarasota Alternative Investment Club, is about taking control back over your financial freedom through education, and that's what we're very passionate about. And again, the mission for Bequest is spreading monthly passive income to the world.